Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome everyone to the Poised for Exit podcast show. Our guest in this episode is a female founder and CEO of an outsourced accounting and CFO services firm who's here to share her entrepreneurial story and how she's successfully grown her booming practice. But first, let's hear from our show sponsors.
Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
Exiting your business is a big deal, both financially and emotionally. I'm John Marquet, certified exit planning advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
For business owners, it can be overwhelming to start planning a transition or exit strategy, but it's so important to avoid unwanted outcomes and unexpected tax bills. The CPAs at JAK, John A. Knutson & Company, can guide you and help make sense of the numbers. Our firm was established over 90 years ago, and we've assisted countless companies with ownership transitions. Leaving your business is a process that takes time, so contact us today to discuss your situation. Visit our website at jakcpa.com. That's jakcpa.com.
My name is Todd Crow, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with Heide Olson, who is the founder and CEO of All-in-One Accounting. Heidi, welcome to Poised for Exit.
Thank you, Julie. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I don't know what took me so long to get you on the show in the first place, girl. I'm so happy that you're here. So good to have you on the show. I love the work that you do. As I said in the opener, lots of outsourced accounting services, CFO services, recruiting. And I know that you solve a lot of problems for a lot of business owners. And you're a business owner yourself, and you have grown such an amazing organization. So let's just start out by having you share how you got to this point. Like, why did you choose accounting? What was it about entrepreneurism that appealed to you?
So I grew up with two entrepreneurs as parents, and I grew up in Granite Falls, Minnesota, which is about 3,200 people, 2.5 hours west of the metro, 17 aunts and uncles, and they were almost all entrepreneurs. And so I grew up around these amazing entrepreneurs, farmers, doctors, lawyers. My aunt owned the country club. My uncle owned the thrift store, the corner store, and certainly my parents. And I just saw like their love and their passion for what they did and how that really filled them up and just made their lives so amazing. But I also saw what really crushed them and really brought them down. And so after I went into accounting in college, I was doing tax and audit work. And every year these entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders would come in and their financials were a mess. They just were completely off the rails and they were stressed. They were shameful. They were stressed. They were, they didn't know how to solve it. And it was a problem that they had been wrestling with for years. And after a few years of doing this, I thought, I can fix that. I can bring internal accounting resources and solutions so that entrepreneurs can focus on why they really started their businesses and nonprofits can really focus on their missions instead of being so dragged down by this piece of the business that honestly, who starts their business to do accounting? unless you're an accountant. Like, it's just one of those things that you have to do, just like I have to do marketing and business development, all the things that I didn't necessarily think about when I started my business. But why not partner with someone who can alleviate that burden, and you can have financials that can actually work for you, and that you can make great decisions based on data to continue to grow profitably. And ultimately, as most people say, the first time you think about exiting your business should be the day that you start it. So really being planful and having good financials is a big piece of that equation. So 21 years ago, I threw out my shingle. I was 6 months pregnant with my first baby. And certainly my husband thought I was a little crazy for doing that. And maybe I was, but I just was really, I'm very passionate about serving entrepreneurs, making their lives better, and really helping nonprofits with their missions. And so I knew I had to do it. And 25 years ago, no one was really doing this. So it was a good time to enter the market. It was a different market. 20 years ago, we drive to the client's office, log into their computer and do accounting work. Well, that's certainly not the way it works now.
Oh, no, not at all. But that really expands your reach, right? Being able to
Yeah,
remote
absolutely.
in and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we discovered early on that technology definitely is something we had to leverage to make sure we could service more clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So have you always worked with nonprofits? I know that's a big part of your business now too, but
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. So it's about 60% of what we do. And we have a team of experts who truly love working with nonprofits, who really invest in their missions and just truly care. And so the team is phenomenal. And it's been really fun to build a nonprofit specific team, because it is different than for-profit accounting. And certainly there was a big wave after COVID where people were looking for more purpose in their work. And so we had a lot of accountants, controllers, and CFOs that came out of for-profit that really wanted to work in nonprofit. And so we have an all-in-one accounting academy where we train people. So that's been very impactful. And really just to give people that option to work with nonprofits. It's been great.
Fantastic. I mean, you know this better than anybody probably because you work with so many of them, but people have these wonderful, generous, loving ideas to start nonprofits, to do good things in the world, but they don't view it as a business. And so many times it fails. The failure rate's probably even higher for a nonprofit than it is for just a for-profit business.
Absolutely. And you do have to think about it like a business. You do need to structure it for sustainability, continued cash flow, making sure you have the right people on your board of directors. So the structure is different in having a board and an executive director and some of those things, but having a really good plan, having a really good budget in place, and understanding how you are going to not only survive, but thrive in your mission. I think we really want to push our nonprofits to get past even that survival mindset to the thriving. Like, how do we expand our mission? How do we do more of that? And so it's been really fun to work with nonprofits over the years and help them do that. And there's always challenges, right? There's always something happening. I always say there's planned disruptors and there's unplanned disruptors in our businesses. And it's been an interesting journey to go through a number of all of those. We're certainly in a time like that now with nonprofits and for-profits, with certainly the economy being a little different, some new administration. There's some things happening that we have to really pivot on pretty hard when we get those changes.
Yeah. Well, the ones that work with you, boy, what a blessing you guys are to being on their team and just making all of that be seamless, right? The financials tell a story. They know what their mission is and they're good at that, and they delegate the things that they're not good at. So that's definitely the advice that I give my clients too. I'm sure that over the years, since you've been running this business, you've learned a lot of lessons. We all have,
Oh,
right?
so many.
Yeah. What were some of the lessons that you learned early on that you would say were kind of pivotal for you?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest and really vulnerable. When I started the business, I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it is to grow it, right?
Yeah.
I just thought, I really love working with clients. I'm going to do great client work, and I'm going to hire some really smart people, and they're going to do good accounting. No, I'm not quite sure what I was thinking, but the amount of effort that it truly takes to build a great business and understanding what that looks like. When you go to college, you learn your trade. I learned how to be a good accountant. I was always really good with people, but no one teaches you how to run a business or grow a business. And so
Right.
a lot of figuring it out on your own. I think one of the big keys for me was realizing that I have to have the absolute best people that I can possibly hire, and to people that are not my skill set, right? So really understanding what drives you, what fuels you, what fills you up, and what you're good at, and then realizing the things that you aren't good at and hiring the right people to fill those spots. And one of the biggest turns in my career has been really from that client focus to the team focus, because you reach that point where you can't do more of your mission of what you want to do as your service offering, and you need the right people on the bus, people who have core value alignment, people who believe in your mission and vision and get just as filled up as you do by the work itself and working with clients. And so I think really understanding the right people in the right seats, huge eye opener for me. And then having an operating system. When I first started, I didn't have an operating system, and it just felt chaotic. It was hard to get that traction. So we're an EOS company, our traction company, and we've been doing that for about 14 years, and it has made an enormous difference for us. You know, high accountability, transparency, that 90-day world where you're resetting rocks and really having new initiatives. It's amazing what you can do over time when you look back,
Yes.
you know, over all those quarters. Last year, I think we completed as a company over 650 rocks. That's a lot of rocks.
That is a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for our listeners who don't understand or know that language, a rock is just a 90-day sprint or a 90-day objective, and rocks are assigned to different people, right? So they never fall on just one person.
Yeah.
They're distributed, and there's accountability and growth occurs, right? It's amazing to me how quickly you can accomplish things when you actually have someone in charge of accomplishing it, who's good at it, right? And in the right seat. And B, where you're actually tracking it. So it's not in your head, it's on paper or on a computer, and you have everybody growing in the same direction that way. So yeah,
Absolutely.
big believer in having a system. You've got to have whatever system you use, as long as you have one and you're not just getting in the car and driving around and hoping you land somewhere, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And again, having one operating system, doesn't matter which one it is. I believe in EOS, but there's lots of good ones out there. The other thing about EOS that I love is that community of people. And I think that goes to the advisor part. Again, when I first started my business, I don't think I realized how important it was to have the right advisors in place. I would say be part of a peer group and have a coach. Those are all things that I learned over the years as I was growing in my journey. And I think as a leader, one of my biggest ahas was the moment that I realized that most of the time I'm going to be uncomfortable, right? Because
Yes.
things are moving and they're changing. And as I tell my leadership team and many key leaders here, with the kind of growth that we're having, and the fact that growing a business is hard, it just is hard. You're going to have a brand new job every 12 to 18 months because the business is growing. And so when I look back what I did 20 years ago versus 15, I mean, every year the main focuses stay the same, but really how I spend my time is with things that I'm not comfortable with, that I have to learn, that I'm outside of my comfort zone, doing things that I would not have anticipated. And I would say my whole leadership team feels that same way.
And you've become comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That's really the key. And I think that as humans, we try to resist being uncomfortable in all different ways, right? Not just in business, but just in life in general. But outside the comfort zone, that's where life is.
Yes. And that's where you grow.
Yes.
And that's where you get challenged. And that's where those breakthroughs happen. How many times have we hit the ceiling where we really have to just ask ourselves, is it an accountability chart issue? Is it a right person, right seat issue? There's always a challenge in the business. I always say, as you grow, you're going to break something and you got to fix it. Then you're going to grow again, and then something else is going to break. And that's just the reality, I think, of growing a business. But having the right team, having the right mission and the right passion. Also, as a leader, I think the last few years, I've really realized how much energy matters and making sure that all of us keep our energy really high. And so really training as corporate athletes, right? How are we keeping our minds sharp? How are we keeping our bodies sharp, our soul sharp? All those things, like spending a lot of time really taking care of myself, of my spiritual self, meditating, working out, having a good routine. All of those things help me show up the way that I need to. 20 years ago, I didn't have any idea that was going to be part of the equation, right? I just thought you work really hard and that's what you do. And then you work harder, but that does not solve all things.
No, I mean, it leads to burnout, and it's tough to pick yourself back up when you fried yourself, right?
It sure is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you also have to know thyself. When is enough and when do you need to take a break?
Well, and you and I have a lot in common, that we were running companies and raising kids at the same time, which that's kind of a recipe for always doing, right? Not necessarily being. And so you have to consciously make the effort to be and sleep and figure out who you are. And that was really tough. That was a tough
Yeah.
one for me too.
Yeah. And raising babies while growing a business, I always say All-in-One Accounting is my fifth baby. It really is. For many
Yeah.
of us, it's like another child, and the kind of love and attention and heartbreak that it's given over the years. It's a mixed bag, but I have absolutely loved the journey. And I think it's interesting to watch people get ready for exit because it's such an emotional journey for an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. And there's so much. I love your book because it talks so much about not only being prepared, but also what are you going to do when it's done? Because I think it's such an enormous piece of an entrepreneur's life, their business. You have to have a plan for when you're done. I saw my dad go through that, very emotional, took many years, lots of bumps in the road. But to witness that, and I have with so many clients as well, it's really important that you prepare for what that after your business life is.
I think too that with many people who have been entrepreneurs for a long time, that it's really so much a part of their identity. And when I sense that they're fearful of the all or nothing prospect of owning and then not owning, I just let them give themselves permission to think of like it could be both and, that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So if you wanted to remain an entrepreneur, what would that look like? And how could you take some chips off the table, reduce some liability, reduce some risk, and still have fun and still use everything that you've learned? And there's a lot of different ways that we could go in that conversation. But I think because you're there in front of business owners all the time, just giving them permission to explore that might ease the pressure a little bit and having to make such a tough choice.
Yeah.
And I know that there's so many services that All-in-One Accounting provides. So maybe we could just do a quick overview of some of the services you provide. Obviously, we're going to have links in the show notes for people to contact you. But if you could give us a little bit of an overview and then maybe a client story or two that would illustrate where you took a client from kind of a situation to like,
Yeah,
things are good
absolutely.
now, right? We're smiling again.
Yeah, absolutely. So at All-in-One Accounting, we become your strategic accounting team. And we are supporting growth-minded entrepreneurs and mission-minded nonprofits by helping them grow profitably, protect their assets, and amplify their impact. And so how we do that is through fractional CFO, controller, and accounting services with leadership. So we really become your outsourced accounting team. And then a couple of years ago, we added talent acquisition. And the reason why we added it is because not only are we really good at hiring those folks, but we do it differently. We offer bridge services because what we found is that our clients and our friends get so panicked when they lose one of their accounting resources that they're very quick to hire. And that quick hire oftentimes is not the right hire.
Amen to that.
So
that many times, yeah.
Yeah, especially in accounting, I think, because it's such a sensitive area. It's so personal. It's the language of business. And you got to make sure people are getting paid on time and invoices are going out and payables are like all those things still have to happen, even if you're down a person in your accounting team. And so we thought if we could provide some bridge services during the search, people would take the right amount of time to make the right hire. And so that's been working really well. We get the joy of working with 450 clients every year. There's about 100 of us now. We really are focused on not only Minnesota now, but we're in about 26 states and we have team in about 14. Post-COVID, this business has really changed where we really don't have geographic boundaries anymore. And we're able to hire the best people that we can, no matter where they're living, and provide the best client experience for our clients. One of the things that I've experienced with clients is I often talk to them about, are you ready for your biggest risk or opportunity? Meaning, if my biggest competitor knocked on the door right now, Julie, and said to me, I want to buy you, or do you want to buy me? Are you ready? And I think one of the unplanned disruptions we recently went through was COVID, and having your financials in line, making sure you know what your business is worth.
Yeah.
And operationally being very sound in the way that you do business. So it's documented. It's a system that is simplified where you've delegated, you're able to predict. We systematize things and we structure them right. Like how you actually operate your business matters. And when you're looking to exit, planned or unplanned, it's really important. And so that scalability, having the right people in the right seats in it, not being dependent on the owner. I think that's probably the biggest risk that I see with people is that they're too integral to their business. And if you remove them, how's the business going to operate? So we have gone through a number of planned and unplanned exits with our clients. Some of my favorite stories have to do with the clients that we started with when they were very small and helped them grow all
Mm.
those years and adjusted the accounting solution and how we partnered with them and then helped them positively exit because they were ready. They had
Mm.
grown to the point that it was time. They had the right financials in line. They knew what their company was worth. They had the right advisors and they had the right mindset, right? Like now's the time. Those are the fun ones, Julie. And a lot of times when people come to us, they are a little messy. They need some cleanup. They need some good systems. So to get them to that point where accounting is a tool for them instead of a thorn in their side or something they worry about is really, it's inspiring, I think, to work with people and really bring that and let them then focus on what they love, their teams and their product and the problems that they're solving without this burden of accounting and finance. We've also run into a couple clients where they've had an unplanned exit, and those are really sad, Julie.
Yeah.
Whether it's sickness or death or
Yeah.
partnership divorce. I mean, we certainly
Yeah.
have gone through a lot of those. I mean, that's an exit.
Yeah. The
Different
5 Ds, right?
Yeah, for sure. But again, I always say, do the things now in the moment so you can take advantage of the results of them instead of pay for them later. Because like with accounting, you can either pay for it now or you pay for it later. You might as well pay for it now and get the data.
Yes.
Give actionable insights into what you're doing. And I would say that with every area of your business, do it now, do it right. Keep
Yeah.
people accountable, have the right people on the bus. Like life is so much better when you can live your best life.
Yeah, I think just removing the unknowns of the what ifs, right? You talked about many of the 5 Ds that we talk about in exit planning, and that there's another way of saying that is just like business continuity planning or contingency planning. But yeah, the planned and unplanned, definitely. And the longer a business exists, the higher their likelihood of experiencing something that's unplanned. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the boomers, how many of them have been through all the things. I mean, we go on, right? 9/11 and the Great Recession and COVID and everything in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
It
And,
is.
and they say that, a 10-year business cycle, 6 years are going to be good, 2 years are going to be great, and 2 years are going to be not good.
That is the cycle.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
just happens over and over again. And man,
Yes.
hold on tight when it's great and you got to dig deep when it's not. I loved some of the things that you talked about in the book, Julie, like 79% of small business owners have no written transition plan. That is so true. I know that for a fact with our clients that 80% of them don't have a plan. They haven't thought through it. They're not as ready as they should be. I think the other big realization for me over the years is I have a tremendous responsibility to my team, right? So what if something does happen to me or another key leader here? I have 100 people on my team. I have an enormous amount of responsibility to them to make sure that this business runs well. That's my job. I take it very seriously. I'm here to serve them and make sure that their lives are amazing and wonderful and they're growing and doing good work. And whether I'm here or not, I need to make sure that's going to continue for them.
And I'm sure that they know that and appreciate that. And that really adds a lot to the culture of your company.
Yeah.
Right.
I love my team. They are amazing. We just have this incredible culture, but we also work really hard at it. We listen to our team, we respond, we track our employee net promoter score, which is like, if you would have told me 25 years ago, I'd be doing net promoter score and employee net promoter score. Like these are just things that you learn over time are really important to your business.
Very much so. Well, the bigger you get, the more you lose touch with people individually, right? Especially when you've got people in different states. And so being able to have a pulse on how are people really feeling. I love the net promoter score. The internal net promoter score makes huge sense. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously that's been around a long time externally, but internally, I mean, we are our people.
absolutely. And
Right?
I can certainly admit that early on in my business and career, I probably was afraid of feedback. It wasn't something that I was necessarily
know.
seeking or wanted until I
Yeah.
realized, again, be uncomfortable, Heidi. Good
Yes.
feedback comes in good and constructive, and there's always something to learn. And really being self-aware and knowing what you're good at and what you're not, and asking the hard questions so that you can become a stronger company, so you can become a better leader. That's what we do need to all, in my opinion, strive for, is really listening to our teams, responding, and building the strongest company that we can together as a team.
And that's really what makes a company go from good to great, right? Or a good exit outcome to a significant exit outcome. And the work that you're doing at All-in-One Accounting is obviously integral to a successful exit. I've been doing this long enough to know how important that work is. So I just want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and sharing your stories on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here, Heidi.
Julie, thank you for what you do. This is such an important offering and information for people. Your checklists are great. Thank you for having me on the show. Let's continue changing entrepreneurs' lives together. Let's do it.
Absolutely. We should probably have you back later in the year, and we can talk more about exit planning and more about business preparation for that from an accounting perspective. I think that that would be really good. We haven't discussed that on the show for a while, so I will.
Absolutely.
I'll get with Kendra and we'll get that lined up.
Excellent. Thank you, Julie.
All
Nice
right.
to meet
Thanks
you.
so much, Heidi.